So this is something I purposely left out of the race review video I did of Talladega, just so I can make a separate video on it, because it kind of did catch my attention after Sunday's race. And it wasn't even about the race itself, really. It was about the last lap where we had the Matt DiBenedetto, Chase Elliott, Kyle Busch crash. There was no yellow flag. NASCAR let it run out green to the end, and we had a green flag finish. So normally, under plate track circumstances, we normally have a yellow on the final lap. We had it with Noah Gragson in the truck race on Saturday, where there was a crash on the backstretch. Gragson almost went upside down. It happened. Gragson was leading and got crashed. The yellow flag came out for that. We've had other times where a crash happens on the final lap. We got a yellow flag. Most notably, two Xfinity Series races in 2016 had this happen. Talladega and the Daytona Night race. The 2013 Fall Talladega race. The 2012 Fall Talladega race. Although I think the 2012 and 2013 ones were kind of, they were kind of understandable considering cars were flying and basically the whole field wrecked in 2012, so it really didn't affect anything. But multiple plate races, we've had yellows on the final lap for accidents, or maybe there shouldn't have been cautions. One of the big ones that comes to mind, 2006, where Jimmy Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. got crashed by Brian Vickers. Wasn't really need for the yellow flag since both went spinning to the inside. A yellow came out. What happened on Sunday was NASCAR went away from what they normally do. They decided to keep the race green, let the field run it out to the end. Now, a lot of fans were angry with this decision. However, I think the anger by the fans was mostly caused by Kurt Busch's post-race comments. Now, Kurt's comments were, there were two mistakes by NASCAR at the end that cost us the win. One was adding that extra lap under the yellow flag, and then not throwing the yellow on the final lap. Now, for both of them, I could say this. Not throwing the yellow on the final lap, they did what the fans wanted. The fans have always been clamored, don't throw yellow on the final lap no matter what. Let them race back around. There doesn't deserve to be yellow on the final lap. NASCAR did that. The fans were mad once again, mostly because of Kurt's comments, I believe. Now, Kurt's other comment about adding a lap under the yellow flag. I have race view I got for the rest of the year, I think, before the Richmond race. So I ended up, under every yellow, I ended up listening to the officials' radio to see, first of all, after pit stops, are there any penalties? And then I also see, when are we getting the one to go, when are we going green? And listening to it, the tower asked, okay, how's your racetrack look to you, caution car? And caution car said, oh, there still needs to be some work done. And they said, okay, hold the one to go. That was what was said. And then the next time around, how's your racetrack look to you? Okay, track's good now, tower. Okay, give them the one to go this time by. So that's basically what that was like. I don't think there was any manipulation unless the caution car was manipulating. The tower was ready to go green. They said, okay, how's your racetrack look to you? And then they said, hold the one to go. It was something along the lines of that. That or it was give them the one to go. And then the caution car came back and said, okay, it's not ready yet. And then they said, hold the one to go. They were going to give them the one to go. Then they had to hold it because they had to add an extra lap. So that was what happened there. I don't think it was really a NASCAR manipulating the end there by adding another yellow to try and make those guys run out of fuel. It was just, the track wasn't ready according to the caution car. The tower was ready to go green. The caution car apparently saw something different on the racetrack that needed to be addressed. Now, as for the no yellow on the white flag lap, I have seen some things that made me baffled, especially with the some fans that... Now, I understand being mad at NASCAR's inconsistency because that happens a lot. We have seen that a lot. However, I've seen a lot, almost a majority of fans say, why was there no yellow on the last lap for safety? Now, the big thing is, people are like, well, there should have been yellow for safety. But in my mind, the people who say that about Sunday's race would be the first ones to say after the truck race, there shouldn't have been a yellow flag, let them race out, NASCAR, you suck, you're stupid, this is why you're losing fans. Then NASCAR goes out and lets them race back the next day, and people are going, well, this sucks, you're not listening to safety, no wonder why you're losing fans. Now, that's where the NASCAR will never win with fans comes in, because there have been a ton of things that have happened with NASCAR where the fans have just reacted over dramatic, or they don't understand. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't have an opinion. Now, the good part of people having an opinion is that you care for the sport, you have an opinion about what's happening. Now, that's good. The bad of it is no matter what happens, you're always mad. And I feel like that happens with a lot of people. Something could go right, and they will find something to complain about. Case in point, remember the Bristol race review? The Bristol Night Race Review, where second best race of the season, really close to Chicagoland in terms of that. After that race, I mentioned Jeff Gluck's poll for the good race or not, where the one guy was like, yeah, it was a good race, but it wasn't Bristol racing because they were running multi-grooves. That's finding something to always complain about, and it really just gets me mad when people do something like that, because something could go all right, and then someone will find a way to complain about it. Chicagoland, people found a way to complain about it. They said, yeah, it was a good race, but we still have 2 maybe 1.5 milers on the schedule. Just enjoy what you just got there. I mean, like, there's a point where I understand disagreeing with something. I have disagreed with some of the things NASCAR has done in the past, including the overtime line. After seeing it in action for like a few races, I'm like, okay, this is probably a pretty ridiculous idea. They're not going to ever finish a race under green with this. I've also disagreed with the chase format that they've used. I've disagreed with a lot of things NASCAR has done, whether or not to throw a yellow in the last lap. You know, I've disagreed with it. However, I've also agreed with a lot of things NASCAR has done in the past. Not throwing the caution flag in the last lap here is one of them I agree with, because if they threw the yellow for that crash and Kurt Busch won under the yellow flag, you know damn well people would have torn the race apart as more than they're doing already. They also have torn NASCAR apart for throwing the yellow for a 3-car wreck in turn number 1. So, in my mind, NASCAR was in, once again, another damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. I've said that now 3 times in the past, like, 3 races this season. It was brought up at the Las Vegas race, the first race of the chase, where NASCAR throws a yellow for debris with about 4 to go. After about 5 cars went and knocked the wall down, about 3 cars blew tires. A caution flag comes out for debris, which, if you really think, you know, if you put 2 and 2 together, there probably was debris on the racetrack. Now you had the people that said, well, that's a fake debris yellow because TV didn't show the debris. But however, when NASCAR didn't throw a caution for debris at Michigan because there's a barrier on the track, people were pissed off about it. So NASCAR throws a yellow for debris and people get pissed off again. That's another one, damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you throw the debris yellow, you're going to get criticism. If you don't throw the debris yellow and Brad Keselowski runs over from the race lane, cuts his tire, you're going to get criticism. Another race where I did it was the Xfinity Richmond race, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. is leading with 20 to go, and a yellow comes out for Catherine, I think it was the 15-car Catherine Legge, getting into the wall. In my mind, shouldn't have been yellow. I don't even think she got into the wall, if I'm being honest. I think she went up and brushed it a little bit, but it wasn't really like anything bad. They threw the yellow for it. Now, that's where you get into the damned if you do, damned if you don't. If they throw the yellow for that, you get people mad, because that really shouldn't have been yellow. There are really things that they have done lately in the season where it's kind of been like, okay, maybe that shouldn't have been yellow, but maybe I'll let it slide. But then if they don't throw the yellow, you're going to get, well, this is rigged. Junior wins his return to NASCAR. How could this not be rigged? Da-da-da. So, I mean, once again, another one of those here at Talladega. They throw the yellow, they get mad complaints. They don't throw the yellow, they get mad complaints. That's basically, you know, it's kind of like with the yellow line rule at Daytona. People are mad that Justin Haley was penalized for going below the yellow line. They said, well, they just wanted that so that Kyle Larson would win. But, I mean, really? Because Haley did go below the yellow line, and in the ruling, in that rule, it says you cannot advance your position below the yellow line. That never says, it never says position on track. It's meaning, NASCAR's meaning of that is you cannot advance your position relative to other cars on the racetrack. Haley pulled away and cleared the 42 and the 1 down below that yellow line. Even though he was already ahead of them, he did pull away from them. That is advancing your position theoretically under NASCAR's ruling. They called it for that. People got mad. They don't call it, people get mad. Now, one thing that NASCAR really did good, another inconsistent thing, but something that I hope they continue to do on these plate tracks is, you can see on this picture, this was the restart where McMurray goes down to try and protect off Menard, makes contact, hits Menard down under the yellow line. Menard comes up in front of him. McMurray is the one that gets penalized for forcing a driver below the yellow line. Now, under the original rule, under the ruling of this yellow line rule, it says you may not at any time in the race go down below the double yellow line to advance your position. However, if you are forced below the yellow line, the person who forced you down below the yellow line may be penalized, may be black flagged. That was what the rule has said since the beginning, and it has never been enforced that way. It has always been either you get a judgment card where they're like, okay, maybe you were forced below, we'll give you the pass, or you went below it, you are penalized. That's happened many times. This is an instance where the first time they've ever called it for the person who pushed the person below the yellow line getting penalized. There have been many times where this should have been put into effect. The 2008 Talladega race comes right to mind, where Regan Smith was forced down by Tony Stewart. Smith went down to the yellow line to avoid wrecking Stewart. Smith gets penalized. Stewart goes on to win. In my mind, Stewart should have been penalized, and Smith should have been the victor. There, both of them should have just stayed their positions, because we saw then the next race at Talladega, Keselowski holds his ground instead of getting forced below the yellow line and spins Carl Edwards and flips him into the catch fence. So if hopefully NASCAR continues on this trail where they where they make the forcer get penalized instead of the person getting forced, because in my mind that's what the rule should always said, and it's what it should always have been. Hopefully it continues like that. But back to the yellow on the last lap thing. So I mean, once again, it's a thing where, like, maybe you're not happy with the inconsistency, but every crash is different. And this is what I was told back in 2015 when I was mad about the 2015 Daytona 500 finish ending on the yellow flag, but the 2015 All Club finish did not. Every crash is different. One crash may have a harder hit than another. Now, if I'm NASCAR, right, and also, not to mention, there are different people up in the truck tower, up in the officials tower doing that truck race than there are doing the cup race. There are different officials for every series that runs these races. It's not always the same person. So keep that in mind. It's also personal judgment. But if I'm NASCAR and on that final lap of the truck race, I see, first of all, the race leader spin around in front of the pack and then catch air down the backstretch, I'm probably going to throw that yellow flag. Because if there is a car tumbling or flying through the air down the backstretch, I'm throwing a caution, no doubt in my mind, to make sure that that guy is safe. Because he's about to go flipping into the catch fence or down the backstretch or something, along the lines of that. And then what if he's flipping? Now, this is a big what if, but if he's flipping and then he gets hit or something again, something like that, throw the yellow flag. Now, the biggest hit that I saw in the final lap of the Cup race was the Matt DiBenedetto crash, where he went head on to the outside wall. Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch kind of just slid through there. They got into the grass and whatnot. So, in my mind, it probably shouldn't have been yellow. It was only 3-car wreck. DiBenedetto was really the only hard hit. And NASCAR said in their ruling that they were talking to, that they were talking to teams, make sure everyone was all right. And they said everyone was all right, so they just kept it green. Maybe if they were halfway down the backstretch and someone said, okay, DiBenedetto needs help. Like if DiBenedetto's spouse said, okay, we need an ambulance to him now, like he's hurt, they would have thrown the yellow flag. I think that's what they did in the 2016 Daytona night race, where all guy and Almirola were side by side. I believe that someone wrecked hard there in turn number 3, and he was complaining that he felt dehydrated or he felt bad or something. So I think that's the reason why actually NASCAR put the caution out in that race. Even though I disagree with that, I thought, man, you were so close you could just let them race back. But, they were like, some drivers complaining about dehydration or not feeling well or something, so they threw the yellow for that, even though it happened at a horrible spot. Now, another thing fans were mad about was the caution for a tire in the grass. Now, people are like, why is that need for a caution? It's in the grass. What's going to happen? It's not really it's not on the racetrack. Why would there need to be a caution for it? Well, the thing about that is, first of all, there were the people who were like, okay, we need a caution flag. Stewart-Haas is just going to run the single file train around to win. And then they got the caution. They're like, well, that's not really a caution. But here's this. And it's another what-if situation where everything would have to be perfect for it to come into a line, which will probably never happen. But people have always complained to NASCAR about not being proactive and being reactive. So this is another thing where they were proactive and not reactive. Because we've had so many times where a driver has hit a place where a safer barrier is not installed, and everyone says NASCAR needs to be more proactive. They need to put safe barriers everywhere around the track, which I agree. There needs to be a safe barrier in every inch of that wall, even if even if the scenario puts up to where someone's not gonna hit that wall. Someone's gonna hit that wall if something happens at the right time. Same thing with that tire. Someone could get spun through the tri-oval, come down and clobber that tire. That tire could go flying into the air and into the infield and hit someone right in the head or hit someone. They're dead. Okay, so there had to have been a yellow for that because that was unsafe. And people are like, well, why not just send a crew member out there? Well, that's totally dangerous. If a car gets spun in the tri-oval, then that person gets hit, and along with the tire. So then that's 2 people dead. So, I mean, that's why that was a caution. That I think that's technically classified as a debris yellow. I think that's what it was classified as, a debris yellow for that tire. So that was that's what I thought of it. That's what I think. Obviously, I'm fine with people having opinions, but when people are always criticizing NASCAR about the things they do, it kind of irritates me a little bit because I feel like NASCAR will never win with some people like that. I have given NASCAR grief when I feel like they need grief, but I've also applauded them when they have done the right thing. Remember the 2017 Brickyard 400, where the caution comes out, overtime line, ends the race early, and Casey Kane went under the caution flag. People are like, well, this overtime line is stupid now because we've had a few races, where they've entered under yellow because you've held the yellow to get it over with. I agree with that. I feel like the overtime line, we should just have unlimited attempts. And right after Indy, NASCAR makes the announcement, overtime line is gone, it's now at the start-finish line. And then people are like, you did it middle of the season. You should have waited until the end of the season. Even though they were the same people that are like, we need to change this overtime line. So, in my mind, NASCAR will never win with some fans. That's okay, because an opinion is always better than keeping your mouth shut and saying, you don't deserve an opinion. You don't deserve to speak out against NASCAR. Everyone deserves to speak out when they feel their mind, when they feel in their mind that something was not right. And that's what happened after Sunday's race. Oh, and by the way, that picture, there's some nice pack racing in that. If only SHR wasn't up front the whole race, we might have seen more of this on Sunday. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys for the next video.